Now you're going to be recorded. So can you reconstruct that conversation?
We just started.
Yeah, we just began.
Okay. So we got Sandra here. I'm glad because she said might not be able to make it.
I did. Yay.
Do you travel through traffic, Sandra, to get to your house or something?
No, it's Tuesdays are my busiest days. I do farmers market and all my running around. And yeah, traffic to get back home.
LA traffic is the worst, I think, in the United States, isn't it?
I think
so. No, Washington, D.C.
Yeah, Washington. Oh my God, it's horrible.
Isn't it, Trish?
Yeah. It's bad.
So Andrew, you're going to pick up what you were saying?
No, but just basically, we've been saying this, over and over. It's just that I've just been feeling like it's getting the conviction that that really is the way it is. Basically, it's kind of like it's there sometimes, it disappears, but it's kind of becoming more and more of a it's there, and there are times like when I feel like Sandy does, Trish does, when I feel sick or something, it's like it kind of sickness is distracting. Working, sometimes can be a distraction, but basically it's just the deepening conviction that that's all there is reality or selfless self, and everything else is just part of the dream. Like you said, John, it's what is it, the bubble of illusion. And no matter what you experience or anything, it's just basically all in that bubble, and there's no relationship between the two, the selfless self and the bubble. And and I get the teacher, the master, is the one who kind of opened your eyes to that, and so, but it's something, like they say, when you get the conviction, it doesn't go away, so my idea is just simply keep up the practice, really, really, as much as I can. And I find myself getting more and more, wanting just to reduce everything that I do in terms of work, just narrow down to the bare minimum, and let it go at that, there's some things you just can't throw it all overboard, because I just feel kind of like, I'm in a situation that I don't know if I could do that, but basically it's just wanting to just trim down as much as possible in terms of work and any kind of other involvement, because it just, I do it, but there's just the sense that, it's kind of like not real, just, and, sometimes I will take the touch, but less and less I find that I take the touch of it all. But anyway, that's just kind of like things that have been happening with me these past few days.
Yeah, well, and even all the activities are occurring inside the bubble of illusion. So you remain with your selfless self, and activities can happen. That's no worries whatsoever.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep reminding yourself, oh, I'm Brahman, I'm Brahman, I'm Brahman, or any of those things. You're okay, you're moving about and doing, but you just, deeply inside, your selfless self, all of this is appearing on your spontaneous presence. It's absolutely illusion. So anytime that the mind starts to stir and say, oh, we need to really be involved in this thing. No, this thing is like every other thing, just a passing thing, like picking up water or having a cup of tea or making lunch, no problems.
Yeah, there used to be the feeling that, gee, I got to do this, because this is something that, you got to earn some money doing a wedding or whatever, or, like doing an event. And now, you know, it's like, I mean, it's getting to be where, you know, if they happen, they happen. If they don't, they don't. You know, I don't really feel like going out of my way like I used to. You know, I used to go out of my way to really, oh, you know, try to get that, try to get this. You know, basically, it's just kind of like, you know, just letting things fall the way they fall. And it is, you know, it's responding and being there and doing the things that are there to do. But at the same time, it's just not that sort of, maybe you might say, could it be, maybe it's an attachment to them, you know, out of fear, out of fear, you know.
Effort is provided when effort is needed, but no attachment to the outcome of any kind of doing as a doer.
Right.
I've been sort of wondering about this experience I had recently, and it's like it was an intense experience of sort of like blissful. It was totally irregular as far as my normal experience goes, and then when I remember it and looking back on it, it's like, well, I'm not experiencing that now. And it's sort of like a continuation of the gradual deepening of these oneness experiences that I get. But it was like the way it happened was I was dreaming, and I kind of woke up. And I couldn't tell, it was like my dream blended into my wakeful reality, which also kind of blended into even the deep sleep reality. It was all like, there was no difference between either of the realities. And it was like a very heavenly feeling. It was like tripping or something. It was like, it was really amazing. And now I think, well, is it possible to feel that all the time? And I don't suppose it would be, but certainly, I mean, I have had times when I've felt like sort of oneness for a whole day or two, but this was extra intense. I don't know what that was all about, but
well, just remember, all experiences come and go, and you're the one that is experiencing these experiences through this body form with mind, ego, and intellect. So all experiences that can actually be experienced, there has to be a you there to experience those experiences. And it's a good progressive step. But all of these appearances or all these experiences on your spontaneous presence. And you said like it blended in from waking state and dream state and all of that. And the truth is consciousness in waking and consciousness in dream is exactly the same. It's the same consciousness. There's just one. And that's moving all of these things about and providing the kind of dreamlike state, dreamlike existence. But again, that's the something that's in the nothing. And the nothing had to be there for this something to appear. Because just like, you talk about a thought comes, you witness this thought. Well, of course, you were prior to the thought because you were able to witness this thought. So the same goes for this kind of experiencing of dream and waking and everything together. You are the continuum throughout all of those different stages of experience. But you're not an experience. That's the reality that provides the background for all these experiences to sort of, like come like a wave, like you were saying. It popped up on this side and it popped up, but you're the constant.
Like the screen.
Yeah. And that's why Maharaj always says, the ultimate is no experience, no experiencer, because you don't even know yourself. You don't know that you exist. You didn't know you existed until suddenly, the spirit clicked with the body, like Maharaj says, and boom, you say, I. And here you are in existence, where there was a non-existence prior to that, and then you're looking around in this world and this, you didn't have to know yourself because you're all of everything and there is nothing other than yourself. But now that you do have this, you're aware of this sense of existence, you need to identify yourself in a real sense. Just I, without anything. And that just I, that formless I, nothing can really stick to that. There's no building blocks that something can stick to and you can say, this is me and I'm having this experience. Its experiences are literally like clouds coming and passing in the sky, or the wind blowing and different leaves are blowing around. Scenes are appearing, but there's no footprint because there's not a you. And if there is a you, then you're using the body with mind, ego, intellect through memory to remember, I'm having this experience. But with no mind, there can't really be an experience because you're just like here. Like just imagine, you're just here, just here, just here. You have no past, no present, no future, just kind of the space in this room. The space in this room isn't experiencing anything. People can come in the room, people can leave the room. The space is not affected in any way. It's just space. And it's a similar thing when you've kind of pay attention to your selfless self and not the various things. Again, it's a good progressive step, as Maharaj would say, and you keep remaining with your selfless self. Because the reality is there's a formless reality and you're using form, but without any attachment to form. You don't have an identity that's moving about, that you're like doing things as a someone or something. It's just scenes and momentary action, spontaneous action in the moment, without a thought, without a memory, without any kind of expectation of any kind of outcomes. You're just here naturally.
That awareness, I guess, it increases on its own, kind of, right? I suppose.
Well, all the layers that are on top of that spontaneous presence are dissolving. It's not that awareness is increasing. Awareness doesn't increase, doesn't decrease. It's the layers of illusory ash that are appearing, like Maharaj says, on the fire, that are slowly, silently, permanently being erased. That's why at first you get the experience of expansion. You're like, wow, when I feel this sense of selfless self in this presence, it seems like the world is expanding and I'm expanding out into everything. But that's because the body touch is being dissolved. There's no expansion. It's just a dissolution of this limited kind of form that you previously thought, this is me, this is all I am. And as this dissolves, because you don't have mind that's trying to pressure you and keep you in this body form through body knowledge, you are this person, you have this life and all that. That's the pressure of body knowledge trying to give you a local limited identification. And as that is being slowly, silently, and permanently erased, the more you remain with your selfless self, the less you give yourself away for passing things. And the more you stay with the mantra, and the more you just, you hold tight to the guru's words, the I am, the presence, then all of this kind of just passes, including the body form. That's why they talk about the bhajans. The bhajans allow the shaking of the vibration of the body, so that for the first time you can start to experience yourself without this body pressure, because it's being kind of, you're not thinking about anything. The bhajans are giving the vibration, and you're sort of vibrating out of this crushed little shell of this idea of I am this body.
It sort of makes sense that it would look like from a perspective, if I'm taking it for granted that I exist in the normal way that I feel that I exist, that it would look like expansion.
Exactly, because through the body, the mind, it doesn't understand the reality, so it interprets things through the form-based existence that it knows through memory. So as you're starting to feel this body sense less and less, you have the feeling of expansion, because that's the way the mind is kind of interpreting the world. The world is out here, and now we seem to be flowing out into it, rather than we're this little limited local identification being crushed by body knowledge is slowly dissolving, and the expansion is not expanding, it's the limitedness is dissolving.
Limitedness.
Yeah, the limitedness. In other words, like, see, the only reason you know you're in this body, okay, yes, you feel body and this and that, but it's the pressure of body knowledge, especially I know this, I have this knowledge, I know these masters, this is my routine, I'm on the spiritual path. All of these things are limiting, because this egoistic sense of I is kind of taking credit for things that are naturally, spontaneously occurring, and your basket of I is getting filled. All these concepts are just stacking. So the mantra allows you to slowly, silently erase this, so you're not having that pressure. The mind, you know, in your normal natural state, this mind doesn't exist, because only this mind is giving thoughts based on a body form in a world which you know you are not. So it's like the mind sort of comes along with the body, but you only use the body for in the moment. This like you're come forward, use the body. Okay, that's it. It's just a mechanism. It's I think Maharaj uses the word the media. It's the media of, you know, moving about and doing these things. But you just know yourself in a real sense. There's no pressure of mind, ego, intellect to keep you confined to this idea that you're a body. And you're just, you know, you're literally the formlessness, just formlessly aware. And Trish, when you talked about being sick, pretend like you called in sick to your life in this moment. You know, all the things are occurring and going on around you, but it's as if you stayed home, so you're not there.
I like that.
Because that's truly the reality. There is no you. There is I, and I is everything. But that I that's everything is only knowing itself inside the bubble of illusion. And the bubble of illusion is the first kind of conceptual, ooh, I exist. And like Maharaj says, even that sense of presence has to go, because that sense of a presence is illusory. But what is not illusory is that sense of presence appeared to, because there had to be something prior for the presence, the sense of presence and the sense of I exist appeared to something. That's something that you are. I have a little bit of a cold too.
I had one coming on, and I took my cure, and it's keeping it at bay.
There you go.
I'm just getting over mine.
ICAM stuff.
It's a change of seasons, I think.
Yes.
Well, we all have allergies here now because things are blooming. It's getting hot here in Sedona. So, yeah.
Well, we're starting to get in like 40s and 50s kind of temperature rather than the 30s and 20s that we have.
Finally.
So.
Yeah, and there'll be cherry blossoms soon here.
The picture, there's one cherry blossom tree that's out all over the place around here. One variety.
Oh. Yeah, they're
but nothing else is out. The forsythia isn't out. The trees aren't budded. But there's this one pink cherry blossom tree that's out. A number of them that are all the same. Very encouraging.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
Spring is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it starts this week, I think. Isn't it the 21st?
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah. The, what do you call it? Equinox.
Right.
spring equinox. As the world turns in the imagination of everyone.
Well, one imagining everyone.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, that's a good correction. Because I was pulled right into her, you know, what you said.
Right. No, and that's just, you know, just to know it's one that's all of, we're just like telescopes basically into this illusory bubble world. Each one of these telescopes is believing that of an experience and experiencing this particular view inside this bubble of illusion, but it's one that's there's only one peeking through the telescope, even though there might be a billion of them.
Yeah, and each one is creating its own universe. So it's like there's 7 billion different, I don't know, creations.
7 different appearances in consciousness that are believing that the consciousness that's appearing to them is an individualized sense of consciousness and not the universal consciousness that's just sort of a stream through that one form.
That's nice. I like that. Sometimes different wording helps things click better. You know, different pictures.
There's 2 different types of conviction in a sense. It's like its reality is convincing that it's limited, and then sometimes you get convinced that it's not limited. You just know it. It's just like there's no question. Like most people would say, there's no question that we are talking nonsense. But
well, the idea is just, I don't know about conviction, but I know that once that sense of presence arises and you pay attention only to that and you remain there and you're literally using the body as nothing more than a cup to drink that nectar of immortality, then conviction, if you want to call it that, you just know yourself in a real sense. And it's sort of, you don't have to worry about thoughts and mind and all this sort of stuff because it just dissolves. It's like Alka-Seltzer in water. When you remain with your selfless self, when you mantra, when you keep with that sense of presence and know that all of this is appearing on that spontaneous presence, then you don't have to do anything. It sort of undoes all the sense of anything being done.
But when it comes, it just comes on its own. It's like I just started to feel it coming on, and it's like I don't know.
You invite the attention of the invisible listener, as Maharaj says, because you are invisible, anonymous, unidentified identity, and that sense of presence, you just keep back, keep recede, remain. Nisargadatta Maharaj says, remain with the I am. Ramakant Maharaj says, be with you always. All of these are just pointers that forget about all this illusory stuff, forget about everything. Still do your job, do your duties, whatever happens to be done. But remain with your selfless self, remain with that sense of presence. Because then you don't have to worry about mantra and you don't have to worry about all these things because you remain with that sense of presence and it literally dissolves all these things that we keep talking about that keep not being able to be dissolved. It's because we're trying to dissolve them. We as an individual is trying to do the job of the selfless self. But the job of the selfless self is to dissolve this idea of being an individual. But selfless self does that quite nicely without your help.
That's why they keep saying no effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That sense of presence will burn off all things that are covering. Like Maharaj says, the fire, all the illusory ash is discarded. Boom, fire is burning bright. as you just remain with your selfless self and stop paying attention to this world. And like Master says, step forward, have courage to step forward, remain with the sense of presence, still do what you need to do, but don't give yourself away. Emotions or something start to rise, pay attention to the presence, not the emotions, because you know they'll pass. If something is disturbing, pay attention to the sense of presence, not to the disturbance, because the disturbance passes. The presence is as close to reality as you can come. And even the presence, again, it is appearing to the nothing. But as far as anything to hold on to, so to speak, that is even the semblance of reality, the sense of presence and remaining there. But see, you can still, like you were talking about with your customers, you could still be with your customers, this and that. Then maybe the customer says, well, you know, instead of $1,000, would you take 100? And your mind is like, whoa, this guy. But instead of that, you remain with the presence and just watch yourself speaking, never getting disturbed, just these things come and go. And if you do get disturbed, okay, fine. I got disturbed in that moment. Now I'm back with my sense of presence. Always, always, always receding, remaining with the I am, remaining with the sense of presence, be with you always. Let all these things come and go. Because Master has said the entire world is illusion. This is the reality. You will experience this reality once you stop clinging on to these illusory passing things. And mantra allows the mind to sort of keep busy with mantra and start to see that these illusory passing things really do pass. Because at first you're like, yeah, well, this passes, but these other things might not. But when you're keeping with the mantra, you start to see, oh, this thing that I thought I'm like mantra, and it just passes. So the mind's kept busy with mantra as it passes. No experience is created, no footprint in memory. And you remain with your selfless self. You just keep with that sense of presence. And it undoes all the doings that you could ever do. You know, you could sit, that's why Maharaj says, don't meditate egoistically or egotistically, sitting there and saying, okay, excuse me, I'm meditating. No, the idea of meditation is to touch that presence so that that presence will be meditating on that presence. You invite the attention of the invisible listener, and that's it. You concentrate on that sense of presence and allow everything to pass. And anytime a mind starts to stir, presence. Even if the sense of presence is just the size of a dime, dive into that continuously. Your attention should always be on yourself, not on illusory passing things.
I've got a question for you. Like, for instance, like, sometimes, you know, like, I try to do the bhajans, you know, as, you know, we're told to do. I know that Siddha Rameshwara Maharaj says, he asked his disciples, I've never asked anything of you, but one thing I do ask is that you do the bhajans. Mm-hmm. So basically, you know, like sometimes when I do the bhajans, I feel like I'd rather just be with that sense of presence. And sometimes the bhajans can actually kind of like pull me away from that a little bit. Have you ever had that experience? I mean, are they for you the one and the same thing? Or do you find that sometimes the bhajans can be a real great aid, and at other times, maybe, as you said, there comes a point when maybe you don't need to do the bhajans. So what are your feelings about that? You know, with the bhajans, basically. I really enjoy doing the bhajans, and I think they help to keep me there focused. But at the same time, there are times when I feel just kind of there, and then to do the bhajans is kind of like, you know, moving away from that. So. When you say do the bhajans, are you singing with these bhajans, or just allowing? Sometimes I do. I have a version that this fella Nalin and what's her name? I forget, the Indian. They were a group. They did bhajans for people who work. They're a shortened version of the bhajans, and so basically it's 4 bhajans a day. So they have the kakarati, they have the morning, then they have the afternoon and evening combined. They do it as one bhajan. So I've learned, I can sing with those. I mean, I've learned them, you know, that I don't know what I'm saying. If I read them in English, I know what I'm saying, but when I just sometimes sing them, you know, like sometimes when I'm driving and things like that, I'll you know, be doing that. But sometimes, like if I'm driving or something like that, for instance, there's just the sense that it's just, you know, like you want to just be there, kind of. That's it, without doing anything.
See, for me, basically now it's become a routine.
Yeah.
The Kakadarate, you know, when I wake up in the morning and I start to drive to the metro, I start the Kakadarate in the car. And then when I get on the metro, I put my headphones on and I listen to it the duration of the metro ride, while I'm also reading different things in I Am That, or, you know, just for reading while I'm on the train.
Yeah.
And when I'm coming back home, for the afternoon or morning bhajan, when I eat lunch around 11 o'clock, I put the headphones on, I put the bhajan on, I'll be eating and doing different things, but this bhajan will be running. Then when I leave for work, I put the bhajan on and I walk to the metro, and on the metro, then in my car, and it ends right around the house time, because it's about an hour and something.
Pretty good, yeah.
On the weekends as well, I find myself, when I go see my son, I'll get in the car and I'll just naturally, because the bhajan is always running in the car, so I just have to hit rewind, basically. You know, it's a CD, so it's not rewind really, but you just press it. Okay, start at the beginning. I like the Guru Pranima ones, where they, you know, they do the Jai Guru, Jai Jai, but and also with the drums and all of that. But I'm constantly immersed in the bhajan, but it's become just a natural thing. And there are many, many times where, you know, it's just it's the background to whatever is occurring in the moment. And,
that's right. Yeah, I've had that experience too, actually, when they're listening to them, but at the same time, you may be just there in a sense, not focused exactly on that. It's just there in the background, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the lunch bhajan is about 30 minutes or about 26 minutes, I think. And I'm eating lunch and I'm checking email and stuff like this while the bhajan's running in the headphones.
Okay.
And the same thing in the afternoon. I'm driving in traffic and this and that. And I've cut out Guru feet so that I can put that in my car. And when it says Rajadiraj, you know, I'll try a bow, because I'm very much into this spontaneous, selfless self-devotion. I have pictures of Maharaj all over. And in my bedroom, you've seen there's a big picture of Maharaj seated with his legs crossed and stuff. And then all the Guru, it's like 11 by 11, all the way across from Gurulingam, Balseb, Siddharameshwar, Nisargadatta, Ramakant. And every morning I'll wake up and I'll do this, you know, bowing, Rajadiraj. And this has just become like I just do it routinely. Like there's no real thought process if I'm doing this. And at nighttime, I'll actually bow. And now, because I'm sleeping on the floor, which just also happened to just spontaneously occur, that I enjoy that, I'll go to bed and I'll put my hands on the pillow and visualize basically bowing to Master's feet, the same that I did when Master was in body form. And I'm not saying you have to do all that stuff. Like I said, these all things just, and it's not like I planned this. It's just, this is the day. There's no time during my day where I'm not either bowing to the Masters, remaining with my selfless self, listening to bhajan. It's constant. And on the train, you know, reading I Am That. I'll read one chapter I Am That, one chapter Master Self-Realization. I do that in the morning and in the evening. So I'm constantly, without really even trying, I'm just immersed. And there's never a time where I'm not with myself.
They say what you put your attention on expands.
It's literally like, it's as natural as breathing. And in every moment, it's just, you know, and there's pictures, and right now there's a picture of Maharaj right here. And I will sometimes sit and eat my dinner and just be very grateful to Master and just, I don't know how you would describe it. It's selfless self-devotion and deeply knowing that Maharaj was my own selfless self that appeared in the illusion to tell me, you are myself, and this is all illusion. Escape this. Just get rid of this. And so...
But yeah, you know, like, I guess, you know, like what I was wondering is, should I drop everything and just focus only on the bhajans? Or, you know, like there, as I said, sometimes like if I'm driving or doing something, you know, sometimes I've had them on actually when I went to Walmart or something like that. You know? So, you know, you're looking on the shelf, you're buying this, or, you know, like you're doing what you need to do and so forth. They're in the background and there is a focus on them, but at the same time, you are doing the things you're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was wondering, is that somehow dishonoring what they are meant to be? And, you know, like, so, like when they do the bhajans, you know, do I need to sit down actually? I mean, this just thought comes to me sometimes. Should I just be completely focused on that period, you know? And if there is that sort of like being with us, selfless self in that moment while it's happening, that's fine.
Well, again, this is speaking about deliberate efforts, and deliberate efforts, no matter how happy a deliberate effort is, it's a deliberate effort. And there's an egoistic sense that's taking credit or has taken possession of this action that I'm performing that I need to be more solemn or something like this. Maharaj has said mantra all the time, continuously. Bhajans in any moment that it happens to bring you happiness. So
that's good.
And I would say in the ashram, yeah, I mean, if you're in the ashram, then of course you although there's videos of me, I was dancing. I spontaneously, it occurred for dancing in the ashram. There's a video of myself when they were doing and I had just gotten over the food poisoning, and I was so happy that I was like dancing, and I was singing the bhajan, and I'm just dancing, and because it's just whatever moves you.
Right.
Spontaneous action in the moment without a doer and without any kind of sense of people watching or anything. No, I wouldn't go down Walmart's aisle dancing the bhajan or whatever, but whatever you like, it's okay.
Come on.
Yeah,
But
where's
no.
the Kool-Aid department?
Yeah. And even sometimes when you're driving with the bhajans, that's really, really kind of cool, because there will be times where you totally lose everything. Like you're driving and you're in motion, but there's no sense of a destination, or it's just this bhajan is just vibrating so beautifully, and you feel yourself moving, but it's like, it's very beautiful. I'm sure you've experienced this if you've been driving with the bhajans.
Where did you get the bhajan CD?
Oh, I made it.
You made it.
Yeah, from Guru Purnima. But you can go to ramakantmaharaj.us and download the bhajans onto an MP3 player and play them either in your car or at home or however you want to it.
I just wanted a CD for the car. It was cool.
Yeah, well, CD you could burn easily. It's you just go to Ramakant Maharaj USA. Any of those MP3s are downloadable, and then you burn them on a CD.
Okay.
I would suggest MP3 because the CD, if you burn it like a music CD, they're really long. So it takes like one whole CD just to do Kakadarati. But if you put it on, I have an MP3 player that just sticks in the car, and then that'll play. And, you know, it's just the 3 bhajans that repeat, basically. And there's sometimes where I just like silence. And see, there's no particular, I don't know, there's no particular schedule, but it always seems to be 3 times a day, and, you know, and all of these things are occurring. And again, remaining with yourself as self and diving into that presence, you will observe all these things. And at first you might say, like, wow, suddenly I went and I bought these 11 by 11 frames and I didn't buy any pictures yet. But then a week later, I'm on the internet and I'm ordering pictures that are 11 by 11 to go in the frames. Like, these things just start to spontaneously occur. One moment you're picking something out, or, you know, and you're doing the bhajan, or you're listening to a video or something. And all these things are just because your spontaneous presence, that sense of presence, is literally the black hole that's pulling in everything towards your own selfless self. And you're going to give yourself whatever is needed in the moment to do that, to remain with your selfless self, if you have the earnestness to remain with your selfless self.
And then that sounds like it feeds on itself after a while, because the more you're into that, the more you want to be there.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're in your selfless self and you are just using the body as, like I said, like a cup of nectar, just to drink the nectar of selfless self, and you're no longer like really concerned about the body or the world, just using this body to basically selfless self devotion continuously, and total faith and trust in the master. That's the reason you have this body form. Truly the only reason you have this body form.
That reminds me of the first commandment in Christianity, I think, is the Old Testament: have no other gods before me. It's like...
yeah, love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself, which is the truth. Your neighbor is yourself. And if you love God, the guru, Sadguru, whatever you want to call it, the sense of presence, with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, then you will be in heaven, on earth, so to speak, on earth. But in the illusory bubble, you'll be experiencing yourself in heaven. As close to the heavenly state as could possibly be, conceptually.
So when I was in that heavenly state, that's not exactly illusion. Of course, well, no, any experience is, I guess, not exactly illusion. The experience itself isn't. But
every experience requires duality of experience and experiencer.
Yeah. So the illusion is that there is a difference between the two. That there is a separate experience from the experiencer, I guess. Something
Again,
like
even the sense of presence is in illusion. There is no sense that you exist. This sense of existence is creating the, quote, Maya, or the illusory world. You're the nothingness that is everything. And this sense of existence popped up, and boom, just like when you go to sleep at night, you fall asleep just for a brief moment, and consciousness, bang, projects an entire dream world and puts you in it. This similar thing happened with consciousness when this stirring of I exist came. Boom, spirit clicked with the body, and suddenly this entire dream world came about. But once this body is dissolving, then the same that was there, that clicked with the body, will still be there after, because there had to be something for this sense of presence to appear to. The sense of presence is the perfume of your own selfless self. It's as close as you can get to the reality, but it's actually illusion.
Right.
But it's to point to the fact that you were there for this presence to appear. You don't know how you were there, because this cannot be how you, there's no real way to describe that you are, until we get in the illusory world in the form of duality, where we can actually speak in a duality of this is this and that is that. Because when that is all there is, yet you know that the sense of presence appeared to that you are. That's how you know. When you know yourself in a real sense, this sense of presence that I know. The knower of the sense of presence is all of everything, and is not actually have anything to do with anything. That's why they say nothing is happening. Nothing has happened. Nothing ever will happen. but you know yourself in a real sense because suddenly you exist. Okay, the sense of existence projects the world, but there had to be something, nothing, that this something appeared to. If you were not, then nothing could appear to you. You are prior to every witnessing, every experience, every anything. You must be there first. So this you that you are, boom, suddenly realized existence.
And it knows it can't be the existence.
Well, it knows nothing. There was nothing to know. That's why you can't use words, because the only way you can use words is in duality again, where you can say this nothing, that this something appeared in, and the something then through the something, the nothing understood its existence, and that you are. But see, that's like duality kind of, it's much nicer just to remain with your selfless self. And all this, it just explodes. There's like, you burn, again, Alka-Seltzer. If you took Alka-Seltzer and dropped it in water, you watch it fizz away. If you remain with your selfless self and discard all these illusory coming and goings, this illusion will dissolve like the Alka-Seltzer in the water, and yet the water will remain.
I guess it's there, but it's empty. You know, you see the
even you can't call it empty, because it's like absence of experience, absence of existence, absence of, that's why they talk about neti. But it's not negative, because there has to be something to be negative. There has to be a positive and a negative and a sense of duality. That's the only way you can speak, is in the sense of duality, where you say an absence of experience. But in order to say an absence of experience, you're in duality, where you have the concept of experience and then the absence of this concept of experience. But there's nothing other than your own selfless self. And remaining with the sense of presence will lead you like a breadcrumbs, Hansel and Gretel, back to your selfless self. You invite the attention of the invisible listener, your own selfless self, and you remain there, allow these things to pass. You know yourself as formless, this mind just drops off, because the mind is only there to kind of interpret the form world, but you're no longer really needing interpretation of the form world, because you're not really in the world, you're just using this body form as and when required. Using and dropping, using and dropping, using and dropping, without any kind of need for the mind to try to give you a story. Because you had to have a story when you believed you were this body form. Otherwise, it would be very painful probably to see no continuity in anything. It wouldn't make sense from the perspective of a mind. You think you're losing your mind, actually, as there's no continuity to anything. As you are just spontaneously action in the moment, and that's it. Using and dropping, using and dropping, using and dropping. No sense of memory, no mind that's interpreting the world. You're just here. But with the sense of presence, you are remaining with the spontaneous presence. You continue to be with the presence and not the passing things. And then that's all you can do as a you that's using a body form. But then when it comes time, when this body is dissolving, you know, but I was there prior to clicking with body, prior to this sense of presence. And this presence will basically lead me back home, because I was there prior to the sense of presence arising. It arose to me. But who I am, I have no idea. Who, how, who, what, who, this. And then you say, Brahman, Atman, Paramatman, God and Master are the labels that have been given in the sense of duality, in the worldly existence, through man's words, which you are prior to, has described and tried to label that you are.
Last night when I had, I don't know how many dreams I had. It was just constant, one dream after another. And when I woke up, you know, I was just, when I just sit down in a chair and just kind of like meditate for a while, it really, felt very real. I mean, like the sense that there can be nothing happening because this is a dream. In a sense, just like the dreams from the night, of course, are so present, and you see how clearly that they're nothing, and then sitting here doing what I was doing, this is nothing. It's like the whole sense of it all being a dream was really, really totally there.
Absolutely.
And then when you get out into the, on the street and everything, then things change a bit. But, like, it's just, it's still there too, but nevertheless, it was very, very obvious, so clear this morning, So when you say nothing is happening, nothing that's basically, that's the same thing with the dream. It just comes, boom, and all this stuff is seeming to happen, and it's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like Maharaj says, I am this body is a long dream.
Yeah.
And you, the selfless self, will wake up from this dream.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing that keeps the events together is memory, right? Or the sequences or whatever.
Through body, mind, ego, intellect, yes. The mind is sort of interpreting the form world and, like you said, trying to build segments. This is cause and this is effect. This is what's happening because of that happening and all this kind of stuff. So the mind is using that because the mind is, you're interpreting the world through the mind, and the mind came along with the body. So the body and the mind are seeing the form world and interpreting the activities, basically taking credit for actions that are being performed spontaneously and building this kind of egoistic sense of I am doing all this stuff.
Right.
But you, the formlessness, can't do anything. There's not possible. Like if you said this space, is this good space or bad space? And what is this space doing? Or the electricity. Is the electricity doing something with the refrigerator? It's just providing. The refrigerator is an instrument that's running off the electricity, but the electricity is just doing what it does, just providing the power, so to speak. And it does it indiscriminately. The electricity doesn't care for the refrigerator more than the microwave or more than the computer or more than the little webcam thing or more than the fan. It's just power, available power. And if you threw away all these instruments, the electricity is still there and is not affected at all. But yet it's not in use. It's not able to be physically or visibly seen, this electricity anymore, because when you see it, you only see it through an instrument, that the instrument is working. Therefore, this electricity must be there moving the instrument. But if you got rid of all the instruments, you wouldn't actually visually be able to see the electricity in action, but it would still be there, having not lost a thing.
It's something like Nisargadatta said about if there's nothing for the sun to reflect off of, it's just darkness, the light. It's got to have something there.
A few times he refers to himself as pure potential or something, potential anyway, something.
Okay, it looks like it is 8:15, yes? Or 8:14? 8:18. Oh.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing y'all. Bye.
Good night,
Okay, guys.
everyone.
Okay,
Everyone
bye.
enjoy your evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you, Kathleen.